National retail stores are under tremendous pressure from the anti-woke crowd for supporting LGBTQ plus community, especially during Pride Month. Now, a viewer wrote in about my video regarding the Target Pride display and made me think about it a little bit more. So let's talk about it. Hey everybody, it's Dr. David. Hope you're having a great day. Now, plenty of times as I'm given more information, asked other questions, I think about things in a different way. This is one of the things that really I focus on in my practice. I'm always trying to rethink things, see from every angle that I possibly can, and of course that better helps formulate my opinion on something. Now, I appreciate the comments that people make, and especially when you keep it kind and you keep it respectful. I enjoy engaging, commenting about these things, so please do keep it going. Now, I'm going to be focusing on the comments from a particular viewer, and then discuss why limiting our kids and the exposure that they have can be difficult, about what we can do to potentially prepare for those things, but also why the mainstream Pride Month message itself aren't actually sexual, even though some people are making it out to be. Okay, so this is a recent comment from the viewer. Now, the viewer was, as I said, was sharing specifically about the video I made regarding Target and the products that they were displaying and where they were displaying it at. And I really do thank her for the comment, which I'm going to share with you now. Thanks for sharing. I appreciate your perspective. For the record, I am not at all boycotting Target, but I was caught off guard when I walked in and the first thing I saw in front of me was this clothing section. At my local store, there is no way around it. I was glad my kids were not with me because I would have been ill prepared for their questions. I would have felt the same way had the display in front of the store been something like condoms or Plan B or vibrators or lingerie. I know where those items are in the store. I don't walk down those aisles when my kids are with me. I am all for people living their best lives and have nothing but respect for the LGBTQ plus community. But we all have to respect each other. Target was not respectful of all their customers by putting that display front and center. In my opinion, they made things worse for everyone by making a statement when they knew it could get picked up by the media and politicized. All right, and thank you for that comment again. Now, I realize that not every Target store is set up the same way. There are different floor plans, are they up and downs, all different things. So I really wanted to know if there was something specific regarding the display that they had for LGBTQ Pride Month. And I asked if she could share with me what her experience was at the local store. Okay, and this was her response. There were shirts that stated things like live, love, lesbian, queer, 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 queer. Some other products had the word trans on them. I don't care about the functionality of the swimsuit or any of the rainbow-themed apparel. My issue is with the words on the apparel. My 6-year-old son, would have been drawn towards all of the rainbow apparel, and I could totally see him asking, "Mom, what does trans mean?" I would have been happy to discuss this with my older daughter, and I have. However, I don't think it's an age-appropriate conversation for my little ones, especially in the middle of a retail store. Now, I totally understand how that can make you uncomfortable, especially if you weren't prepared for it. Yeah, right there in front of you, and then you could have been confronted with that. But I also do recognize we live in a different age than when we were kids. And the things that kids are being exposed to, that they're being bombarded through, just other things that they may see, social media, etc. I realize that, especially the younger the kids, the more control we can have over them. But I also do realize that they can be exposed to things anyway. Now, as an example of this, when I first started working with people with autism and families with autism, it was a lot of families were kind of embarrassed to say that they had a kid with autism or to acknowledge it, having a different type of kid. And in fact, I think part of the reason why the numbers of autism have gone up is because some parents are more comfortable talking about it and reporting it. But through autism awareness, and we realized we were talking about individuals. We were talking about people, how people and families identify. All of a sudden, families with autism started coming together in order to both network and to help just be social with each other, etc. And now, certainly autism isn't a stigma like it was before, but it was earlier in my career. So I realize that some things, just when they're new, when they're put in front of us, that can create some discomfort and some stigma, but also through awareness, talking about it, recognition, that those things can dissipate when we're really just talking about people. Okay. Now, as I said, we can't completely affect what our kids are going to see. Now, the shirt that you're referring to, or that kind of clothing, certainly could have been worn by a person wearing that shirt in that store, or walking down the street, or at the beach, or in the mall. So it's certainly, even if Target didn't have that display there, your child, and maybe they were walking next to somebody who had all this rainbow stuff that they would have been drawn to as well, your 6-year-old child could still be exposed to this type of shirt. Okay. Now, of course, another thing they could have that they could see is they could see a gay couple walking down, holding hands, walking down the street, or maybe even kissing. Right. So, they could, also just be exposed and can raise similar types of questions to that as well, which, of course, if you weren't prepared for something like that, that could maybe have been an awkward situation as well. But certainly if a 6-year-old says, why are those two men holding hands and kissing? That's something we probably need to have a response for ready for as well, because that could be just as much as in their face, right? So what can we do to prepare? Now, since we know it can happen, maybe just thinking through these things, maybe with your partner or a friend, maybe role playing and asking the types of questions that they might come in contact with, that they may bring up to you, so you have an answer ready to go, or at least have thought in that realm so you can think in that way. That'd be important. Now, I do also, as an aside, want to make a distinction, because not all LGBTQ messaging is not necessarily sexual. And in fact, it may not be about sex at all, right? While everyone does see things differently, I do see a difference between items that are identifying people, that are trying to make people connect, right? Representation. If a gay person sees somebody else wearing a gay pride shirt, they may feel more comfortable, more able to talk about things. So and to a certain extent, there is that level of identification. But of course, there are sex and fertility related products, right? And you don't typically see that in the front of Target. That's certainly different, right? But nonetheless, those are items that would be different. And so I appreciate the analogy that you're trying to make in terms of the discomfort that you could feel. But I also do want to point that we are talking about, one is an object that, whether it's, again, due sexual function or fertility, versus a person who, trans is a way that people refer to themselves. Queer is a way that a person refers to themselves. So this is also about their identification. Okay. Now, of course, we can't expect corporations to not sell products and messages because some people will be offended. In fact, let's face it, probably the reason why these stores are doing this, a good part, besides they maybe want to be helpful and be part of the community, but let's face it, it's also capitalism. They want to get customers in the store. They want to have people come in and buy their products. Now, of course, if you're talking about capitalism, people have a right to not go to that store. People have a right to not buy that shirt. People have a right to not do those things as well. And that's also what capitalism is about. But at the same time, I would suspect that these companies, to a certain extent, would love to have the LGBTQ community more frequent their establishments. And that's why they do things like this also. So anyways, I hope it gave you something else to ponder. Realize we're all figuring this out. It's a strange time. I would imagine a decade from now, when we're grandparents, etc., that we may have been there, done that type of thing. But there may be new things that our kids will come up with and be exposed to that we never even thought about. So anyways, have a great day.